All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Unconventional Mindset. My name's Odum, and this is our live stream, where every day we get together here, Monday through Friday, to figure out how to build ourselves a company that is going to generate us $1 million in revenue every single year. Sounds like a lofty goal, but you know what? We're going to approach it one day at a time. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Hopefully you had a good Remembrance Day, and you might have the day off today as well too. So hopefully you take some time to reflect and just think about all the people that, went through things that, people are still going through today that hopefully, I don't know. It just, doesn't have, it's just the thought of war and stuff is just, it just really sucks. It's just really unfortunate. So hopefully we can remember as much as we can so we can try to avoid it as much as possible. And yeah, so anyways, so what are we doing today? So last week we finished, I'll just kind of show this here. We went over our style guide and started working on putting forth the components. And I have a list, and we spent the time putting together a list of the different components that we wanted to make. And I was also thinking about trying to figure out in my mind how to navigate moving Piixel Pieces forward at a fast enough pace versus how much stuff do I want to do and be able to do while I'm like live streaming, right? So I was kind of going over that, and yeah, it's still going to be something that's going to be ongoing, but I think I'm going to have to really press more to do lots of stuff off screen, off camera, just so we can move forward at a reasonable enough pace. That being said, I didn't get a chance to do too much over the weekend because there's been some rearrangements and stuff happening in this office and the studio, and that's probably might change the coming days as well too. But anyways, what I also thought too is to go back a little bit back to the drawing board in terms of taking my pencil and a piece of paper and drawing out every single specific component that we want to build. So that way I'm not going on a blank canvas in Webflow and being like, oh, what's the component going to look like today? Because again, the whole point of Piixel Pieces and how one of the ways we want to differentiate from the competition is that we want everything to be super premium, super high quality. So if I'm just going to be thinking of something off the top of my head and then putting it in there, then what are the chances of it being really high quality, right? I'm not going for quality. I'm going for, sorry. I'm not going for quantity. I'm going for quality. That's the right phrase there. So that's what we're going to do. So I got the camera all set up here for the overhead shot. So we're going to get back to doing some illustrations here. Actually, there won't really be illustrations, but some just conceptual work. And yeah, and I think that's going to be that. So we've had quite a few new subscribers. Well, I mean, quite a few from my neck of woods, kind of, I think over 10 over the weekend. So welcome to everyone. If you're new here, I really appreciate it. If you ever have any questions or want to tell me how I'm doing things wrong, doing things right, whatever the case may be, please let me know. Always happy to hear from all of you guys, feedback and all that good stuff. Okay, so we got our style guide. That's complete. And now what we need to do is figure out our components. And actually I have it printed out here in front of me. And this is what we did. Did we do this Friday or did we do this on Thursday? I can't remember when, but let me see if I could bring it up in a Word document. Yeah, here it is. Oh, let me bring this up here. Perfect. So this is just exactly what I'm looking at. We have components and templates and all the different things that we want to have and when we launch, the first version of Piixel Pieces. So I think what we're going to start with today is we're going to start with the components just over here. We're going to start drawing out some navigations and some hero sections as well too. And maybe some footer. Well, we'll just keep going. We'll go down the list and we'll see how far we can get today. And we'll keep drawing it out and seeing what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Because I think the idea as well too is, so for example, I think this is really hard to see. This camera, it's on a really shallow depth of field as well too, because the light in here is really bad. I really need to up my studio game here. So sorry about the image quality. So, but this is the navigation we have right here. And then I have simple navigation with button, with drop downs, hamburger menu, and a mega menu. Like, to me, this could be simplified into basically into two different navigations. One that's simple, but has the different component pieces of like a button, but it also has a drop down. And then it has the responsive menu. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? See if I can. I think my comments should be working on here, and they're not working. I wonder if it's just because it's the type of screen I'm on. No, my comments are not working today. I think I fired up OBS before I fired up my comment thing. I think that's what screws it up. Anyways, welcome. Happy, what day is it? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Yeah, so all this stuff can be broken down into basically one menu. So when someone cuts and pastes it, they can kind of take the components and the pieces within that navigation to whatever makes sense for them. But I think that's the trade-off between having lots of components or being very, very simple. Yeah. And then a mega menu, which is something that's completely different, which is basically outside of how Webflow does its native navigation items. So I guess we can do it with different layouts as well too. So that might be a difference. Okay, so let's go here. Here's our navigation. Now that might be hard to see. Can I zoom? No, that's not going to zoom in. There's not much I can do. Hang on a second here. It's not the time to be messing around with this thing, but okay. I need to put on a zoom lens on this camera so then I could just zoom in instead of trying to actually adjust the whole thing. Okay, so here's our navigation. So I think navigation is pretty much the simplest thing to do. And I've already done it. I know I've done this before, but that's okay. We'll do it. We'll do it again. So we need to have, I guess this will be the first version. So we need to have a place for our logo. And then we have our drop down. And we have an item 1, just various items. And then we have our button. So these are basically the 3 different variations within the menu. So we have the drop down section, so something that has a drop down. And I guess what we can even do here is just illustrate that. Drop item 1. Drop item 2. So, Kevin, maybe you could answer this question for me. Because the thought that I have is, you know, this whole quality versus quantity thing is you have this navigation here, which if you cut and paste it, you have your logo, you have your nav items, which could either be a drop down, it could be just a standard item, and then it could be a button, or you could copy to have multiple buttons. Now, does it make sense to have multiple versions of this navigation in the template library or the component library? So an alternate version of this would be a navigation that just has like your simple items, Another version just has simple items plus a button. And then another version has just drop-down items. So it's almost mixing and matching things that are already there. So instead of having one navigation component in Piixel Pieces, then there's, 4, 5, 6, 7 navigation components, but all just simple variations of the same thing. So we have alternate versions, so easy for someone to copy and paste and build quickly. Yeah, so that's my thought as well too, and I'm trying to wrestle in my mind the whole idea of quality, not quantity, and not just sticking something just for the sake of sticking something in there, But yeah, any barriers that I think we can eliminate from somebody from easily just copying and pasting something and then creating their website and away they go is good. So if that's the case, so we can just write it down here real quickly. Also acts as inspirations to see different layouts to choose from. Yeah, do you worry? This is my worry. And again, this could just be me. And it's something that I might need to get over with. If you see something that has a lot of components, does anything ring in your mind like, oh, well, geez, they have, 1,500 components. There's probably some stuff in there that's of really low quality. Like, do you worry a little bit about quality when you see something that has a lot? So I guess what I see is, because there's one, I think is it Flowbase? I can't remember one of them. Well, probably a few of them. They're like, oh yeah, we have like over 1,000, components, or we have the largest collection. It's like, that's so many components. Like, have they all passed through quality assurances? Have they all gone through really good QA, really good testing out in the field? How are they working with usability, on screen readers, all that kind of stuff? I don't know. It's just for me what I worry about. Maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not. I don't know. But that being said, maybe I need to calm down a little bit, and having 5 different navigations is not the end of the world, because you have one here is the primary and then a secondary. So let's just type in variations. I'm not spelling that right, am I? How do you spell variations? That's not how you spell it. Variations. Is that 1R or 2R? I'm not sure. I feel like it's 2 R's, but I could be wrong. Variations. So you have one. So all basic nav items. Number 2, and I apologize about this if it's really hard to read. We'll definitely have to fix this for next time. Number 2. So all basic nav items with button. So I guess what we can say and what we can show is, where's my mouse? There it is. It's like basically this nav bar here, we'll just copy this one. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Just copy this one, make another one. It'll be nav bar 2, and then say remove this drop down and just have, nav bar link 1, 2, 3, whatever 4, and then that's it. And then we'll copy it again, and then it'll be nav bar 3, and then maybe that one has all this one, but then it also has one at the end, which is an actual button. And that'll be like the call to action or whatever the case may be. So I think that's how we're going to do it. And then I think then also we'll probably want to do a few variations. Actually, we'll kind of draw these ones out right now. We'll want to do a few variations which have the logo in the middle. And then it might have some different things on the sides. Oh, you're not seeing my hands here, but it might have the logo in the middle and then some items on each side. And we'll do those ones. We'll actually draw those ones out. So this is, say, We'll call this not version. Yeah, we'll call this. Whoops. Version. How am I? What my freaking spelling? Version. Version 1. So variations on version 1. All basic nav items with a button. And then just combo of all 3. Okay. Yeah, okay. And so let's go navigation again. And this one, we're going to say version 2. So this one I'll say, it's almost as if each navigation can have 3 different variants, whether it has buttons or not. Almost. Well, let's have a look. So there's our logo. And then, of course, you can also have variations within navigation on how you do the mobile version and how you want that to be displayed. That could also be a different variation within the same thing. Oh, yeah, I could see how it can easily get really, really complex in terms of the numbers of components that you have. I think there's definitely going to have to be a balancing act between how many different versions I put in on the base, Maybe it could be something where it's like, I think that's what maybe the naked flow theme is going to be, is like I will have it like with this navigation, but also with a button. So it'll have all the components and everything, like it's like the micro, I don't know what to call it, but like the different pieces of the navigation, all those different sections, they'll be in the main one. And then if you just take the blank template and you want to just work from that, then you could cut and paste and delete the different nav ones that you don't need and just duplicate the ones that you do need. So it'll be there'll be a little bit of extra steps, but if you really know what you want, I think you'll be able to get very quickly to the nav item that you want. Yeah. Okay. So version 2 would be just the logo in the middle. And I think what I like for this version, this could be a simplified version, and I've seen this before, and I'm pretty sure I've used this before, is you have the nav items over here. Just centered below. And then you have the button here on the left. And then what you can have is you can have just a variants. And then the first variant would be just the button aligned excuse me, with the nav items. You can also have it so that the button, the main call to action button, is actually embedded within the hero section. Depends on how you structure the page. I think this is getting a little bit too specific on what the actual design of a page is. So I have to be careful not to think too much like that. And this one is more thinking of individual elements that somebody would want to use to copy and paste that into their project. And something like that, they can copy and paste a different type of hero section if that's what they wanted to do. And then they could just take the variant without the button, if there even is going to be one. So again, yeah, you can have it with button. And then you could have just no buttons. And then you could have a variant with a drop down and with the nav items. So I know this seems probably pretty repetitive and really redundant to just write this stuff down, but I think it's important to get everything kind of all the ducks in a row so that when I start to build, I can just build things after spending some time thinking about the different things that I want to build. And then it should be really easy. It'll be a lot easier once I get into Webflow to put these things together. Because I would have spent some time thinking about the logistics while I'm sketching this out. And by logistics, I guess I mean programmatically how it's going to work within Webflow. So navigation version 1, 2, and I think, so with this type of navigation, yeah, we could do it. And let's keep it with this one. I think we can keep it with this one, and we could say the nav items, these ones will be aligned to the left. And then we can just sketch that out here below. Item 1, item 2, oop. We have our logo. Then we can have our specific call to action buttons here. The difference here is that this one is going to be laid out in a grid to make sure that everything is centered properly. And you can't use a flex layout with this one because it's going to offset the different elements here based on the width. So it has to be in a grid, which is fine. And then, yeah. And then the other variants you can have, I'm just going to write this down because there could be a lot. So you can vary all three, I'm just going to call them like mini components of a button, a nav item, and a drop down. So between having the logo left aligned and then having the logo center aligned, there's already going to be between, this one's going to have, oh geez, this one's going to have one, we'll just say maybe we'll leave it at 4 different versions. But again, what's 3 to the factor of 3? There's 9 different versions you can have, right? Because it's 3 factorial, I do believe, to calculate how many different combinations you can have of all 3, which would be 3 plus 3 plus 3, 3 times 3 times, or 3 times 2 times 2. I can't remember. It's been too long since I've done finite math. Anyways, a lot of versions. And this one as well too. You have all the different versions with it here, and then all the different versions with it like this as well too. Anyways, and should we have all those different versions? I'm not sure. But it would almost be nice to have a button to say, not premium versus non-premium when you're in Piixel Pieces, but it could be something where the most common ones are used. Then you could sort out, like hide the uncommon ones. or maybe see variations. I don't know, something like that. Something like a see variations button. That might be interesting. Actually, that might be really interesting. Let me just, I mean, if you think of a plus button, and you just go, this might not make any sense, so, but let's just write it down anyways. See variations. See variations. Question mark. Whether that's a good thing to do. Okay. So these are basically the only navigations that I can think of that make sense to have for the minimal pre-built items that are unstyled and undesigned. Because I think I'll probably have eventually anyways, it's like some filter between minimal bare bones components to something that's already pre-built. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I should do that. I think, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think having minimal bare bones unstyled for the designer, for the developer, no, not for the developer, really for the designer, so that they can go ahead and design the things that they want to. And then for the developer, I think that's where pre-built templates will come into place. So the templates will take all the different components and then design them in a way that, you know, someone who's a developer can go ahead and use. Because as a developer, I think, don't definitely quote me on this at all, but I would get the impression that a developer would prefer to work with a full-blown theme / template that's already basically pre-built than try to build it himself, herself, whatever, by cutting and pasting different components. Because then they're not fitting a specific theme, and then they're going to have to do some design work anyway. So if you can just eliminate all that design work for a developer, I think that'll be really good. So the components are going to be all simple, minimal, ready for styling, whereas the templates are going to be, aside from the naked flow template, they're going to be designed specifically as an out-the-box solution. But of course, design and do whatever you want with it. Once you have it, do your tweaks or whatever. Okay, so that's the standard navigation. So now let's also take a look at, we'll use a separate sheet so I can look back at this if I need to. So I won't draw in the back. So this again is also navigation. So also navigation here. And this one is version 3. Okay. Right, and this one is basically going to be like your mega menu. Right. And there's all kinds of different variations you can have for this mega menu too. Right. Well, maybe it's going to have to be, we're going to have quality. What's the word I'm looking for? Quality and quantity at the same time. At least for navigation. We'll see what happens when we get all to the other pieces. So a mega menu. All right, let's do one here. So here we have our logo. I don't know why I'm trying to sketch this out, but there we go. So here we have our logo. Yeah, the same thing. Okay. Here we have our call to action button at the end. Here we have our different items. Actually, this is a drop down. I should put that in there. Item 2. Item 3. And then the question is, how do we illustrate the drop down and what's inside it? I guess this one, oh man, I'm crooked. I mean, this totally depends on how fancy we want to get. And these are generally will be reserved for things like showing different blog posts or different events or what have you, where you want to have more information. So as an example, we can have, there's an image. Title of a, let's just say, of a blog post. Over there. And then that'll maybe show up in a 2x2 grid here. Okay. Okay, that's something. So now the real thing to think about here, or the real variations, are really what does this mega menu look like and how does it behave? So there's different behaviors. You can have it, let's write this down. So mega menu variants. Okay, so we can have one. You can vary. Vary on behavior. You can, what am I thinking here? Let's say the size of the mega menu. So for example, whether it goes full screen, not full screen, full width or not. And we could just vary based on the position. Oh, goodness, keep busting this thing. Based on the position and items within the navigation. So for example, you can have icons, you can have images, you can also just have I'm not going to say rich text, but you can have different types of text, right? Like it's not always like a link. So I'll put that in quotes. Rich text, and then I'll brackets, just not necessarily like a link. Oh my goodness. All right, a link. Right. So I think this is something that we really need to take the time to design really, really well. So let's draw some out. That's what we're doing, so might as well do that now. So mega menu. I will say that this is something that I rarely have used in my whole career, building websites. I think I've used it once. And I guess for me, like my style of design has always been, it's always been putting the content and putting the user experience first above all else, and not so much what something looks like. Because for me, at the end of the day, if a website looks really, really good, just blows people away, designers love it, whatever the case may be, then that's great. But if people can't use that site or can't get access to the information that they're looking for when they first get to the site, then I don't care how good it looks, it's useless. But if it looks like complete garbage, like Craigslist, but yet people get the information and, they feel like they've gotten what they want to get out of the website, then mission success. So when you have these complex, ginormous menu structures, for me, a big thought process in my head always goes to the content isn't really structured right if you have to have these ginormous mega menus where you have so much information. But I figure, you can't help it in certain sites. So I'll give you one site. Let's do a little bit of not market analysis here, but I'll look at different sites. So this one that comes to mind right off the bat is Stripe, where you hover over top of it and look at this, right? So you have products, and you have products for global payments, revenue and finance, and whatever. So they're all different. I think they're different. Oh, some of them are even duplicated. So here you have billing, invoicing under global payments, and then you have revenue and finance. There's billing here as well as invoicing. Atlas is here again. Is that duplicated? Tax. Maybe that's all that's duplicated, but still it's duplicated. These things are duplicated in here. And then banking as a service, and then solutions. These are icon based, like by stage, by whatever. So this is what I mean, where things get complicated when you're trying to design these components for, you don't know what the use is going to be for. So it's like, oh my goodness, do we just try to create a whole bunch of different components that are very, very similar? But then again, you got to be careful with quality. At least I think so anyways. All these, so all kinds of different things. But I think with this, you can combine here icons, and these are icons as well. The other ones just have a little bit of an animation or whatever with the arrow, and the title and subtitle. But at the end of the day, that's just an icon. So if we're looking at right over here, mega menu, what I said here is that you can vary based on position and items, like whether there's an icon here or an image. You can still create those mini components within a mega menu, and people can cut and paste them as they see fit, depending on what their needs are and how they want their mega menu to behave. So that's all. Is there anywhere else that we can go to look at mega menus? I know there's lots of plugins. Yeah, here's the WordPress plugin. Oh my goodness. Let's just take a quick look at this. But let's not try to pollute our mind with ideas of things that already exist. I wonder if we can just have a look at what it looks like. Maybe under features. I don't think it's going to show too much. Menu output options. Yeah, it's not showing much. Accordion menu, custom. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. Basically, because when you have a mega menu, if you think about it in the WordPress or in a Webflow environment, you could basically open up a div on hover, right? And within a div tag, you can just put whatever the hell you want in there, right? So, I mean, put whatever you want in there, right? So, it could be static items. It could be stuff from their collection. It could be anything. So, I think what we should keep in mind here is how do we want to design these things? Okay, so I think let's first of all, let's take a look at individual, like a nav item. So let's look at something with an icon. So with an icon, you want to have basically the icon there, whatever the hell the icon is going to be. And this is going to be, the navigation link. So that is something that can be there, which is super simple. And then number 2, you can have icon, but maybe a little bit more complex. And that, let's draw our icon. This is an icon of, I don't know what that is. It's just an icon. So we got navigation link, and then whatever, like a subtitle, or subtext, or whatever. So basically, like a 2-line. Oh my goodness. 2-line text. And then another option would be, instead of an icon, it's an image, which is basically the same thing, right? If you have an image or you have an icon, it's really going to be wrapped around in some kind of the same wrapper or whatever. I mean, your icon might be like an SVG, so you might have like an HTML embed, but either way, anyways, here's your image here, and then you have your get navigation link. Then you could also think of like, oh, look at all the different ways that you could align these two elements. You can have it, the image at the top or at the bottom or whatever. And again, there's going to be a way to, there's going to be a need to not go gung-ho and trying to create all these different variations. I think there's going to have to be something where the designer or developer is going to have to take these components and rearrange them in a way that makes sense for them, for their project. Otherwise, I could easily fill Piixel Pieces with the navigation component pieces with we could have 100 different navigation options. Maybe in the future, that's the way it's going to go, if that's what everybody wants. But to me, I just see that, I feel like it's just such a nightmare. I mean, also think about how to maintain all those. Imagine yeah, it's not like the way I see this too is if you have one mega menu and you have the drop down items and you click on it and then all the different things come up, but each one of the items comes up as a different style, like a different element you could take. Like this one's an icon, the simple one. This one's an icon with an arrow, and this one has some kind of animation, and this one has an image instead, and this one is, it's placed this way. And then you could just copy and paste the whole navigation, the whole mega menu, but then within there, you can just cut and paste, like you can duplicate the types of items within the mega menu that you want, and you could just delete the rest. So that way, from my perspective of the developer who's building out the components, then you have less actual navigation components to like update and upkeep, right? And to always be updating them to make sure that they're fitting the latest style guides and the latest whatever things that are going on. Whenever you're talking about updating, right? Webflow comes up with an update. You need to update specific classes or properties or elements or whatever. You don't have to go through 1,000 different components. You might have 100 different components, right? That's like 90% less work. I don't know. Anyways, just thinking, just talking out loud, trying to figure things out. But you know me, I try to go for the less is more approach, but we'll see. But also be conscientious of the fact that, more is also really good for people that want variety and people just want to grab whatever they need to grab and go. Just like the grocery store. Even though we don't need 100 different types of cereal, there's just 100 different types of cereal there at the in the cereal aisle. Even though it's all ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but you don't need them, but they're there. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad analogy. So now we have a mega menu design with an image that I say more complex, which again has two things here. Then again, you can throw icons in for like say an arrow for go. You have animations, all kinds of different things. So I think we're going to build lots of these different varieties. And then what can we have? And let's say we have variations on the mega menu links. You could have animations. You can have, well, I guess it's still hover in out. You can have, what am I thinking? I like their placement. That could be left to right versus up down. Lots of different possibilities there. So how much of these do we want to sit down and draw, and what makes sense? I mean, these ones are here, but we just need to put them within an element. Okay. What also did we write? Simple with button, with drop down, with responsive hamburger menu, and then a mega menu. So that's all the navigations that we initially wrote last week, which makes sense. I think we captured all that. Is there anything else that we're missing for navigation and navigation items, or basically navigation components? I mean, the one thing for sure that I know that I'm not going to do is do like right to left stuff, because I've never done that before. Everything I do is left to right. And everything that I've done has been left to right. But that's another marketplace to tap into in the future. Okay. Okay, I think that's good for our navigation. Now let's move on. Actually, while we're on the navigation, let's skip our hero section for a bit and let's go down to the footer. Because the footer is going to be very similar to the logo. Oh, excuse me. So what do I wrote down? Footer with simple footer with navigation. We have different columns as well. And then we also have the footer with the creed or the logo. So let's start with maybe not so much the easiest or the simplest one, but the one that's going to have the most, again, sorry, there's gotta be, where's my mouse? Maybe that's a little bit better. And again, my camera, I don't know. This is one of my older cameras, an A6300. And I know might have been dropped a few times. So it might have a little bit of issues not being as clear as it maybe used to be. I could be blowing this up more. Although it is a 4K image getting downsampled to 1980. But anyways, hopefully that's somewhat visible. So footer, version 1. So again, we're going to have on this footer, let's say, let's go with, I guess basically my favorite style of footer is you're going to have the logo again. Either the logo or like a logo mark, whichever you prefer. So that's going to be there. And then we're going to basically have here is just the tagline. Insert your like company tag. So a very quick creed or whatever that you do. You know, like Nike, just do it, for example. So that's there. And then we can have, and then there's alternate versions of how you want to do the navigation here. And I think it really depends on the size of the site that you're building, whether you want to do something with columns, which is a very standard type of footer that you see especially in SaaS companies, or you can have it where it's just a couple line items, a subscribe form, social media links as well, kind of in a line. So there's lots of ways you can go about this. In fact, let me just erase this here because I don't like how this is going to look. So I want to keep things a little bit cleaner. All right, so that's the tag. And then we'll just say, so we have, oh my goodness, spacing. So we'll have company, spacing, a little more space. Company, services, I don't know, totally making stuff up. Products. So you have your links down below. For each kind of section. And then on the last little bit, you can have contact, and then you can have let's just say what, a phone number, say, 902 555 1234. Actually, I probably want to left align this, but say email at me.ca. And then like social media links. Something like that. In fact, actually, I don't know. I think actually what you'd want to do is align these this way. So let me make that look a little bit better. Well, it depends. It depends on what you're doing. Right, I'm not going to say you want to do it one way or the other. Okay. So 902 555 1234. Email at me dot what is that? .com. And then just whatever social media icons. So that would be about the most complex footer that you'd want. Yeah, pretty much. Let's close that I'm looking at. So, and then let's just do a quick version 2 here. So this is where you can take, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna alternate the nav structure. We are going to have So you still have your logo, and you can still have your creed down here. But then you have basically a simple navigation. 3. Oh, goodness. Item 4. And this is where, again, it could get so many different variations where you can have a subscribe to the newsletter. All right. Subscribe. And then, you know, below that, you can then have your social media icons. Oh my goodness, this is horrible. So again, a little bit more of a simple navigation here, a smaller site, small company site that just has, you know, home, about us, you know, services or products, and like a contact us or get in touch or something like that. And there could definitely be room for a call to action as well somewhere. Yeah, there's so many different lots of little different pieces that we can build. So it's going to be interesting to see how I'm going to wrap my head around having all these little things put in. And then okay, let's just keep going with some ideas here. Because we can have version 3, which is a much, much simpler navigation, which is very similar to this, essentially, as a navigation. Where you scroll down to the bottom, you get to the point, you know, where, you know, it's that transition between the content and then the footer, and then you just get the logo, and then you just get your navigation items, which I'm just going to draw as little rectangles now. And then with there, you can also have your social media icons. And then, of course, you can have your, well, that's not the right symbol, but your copyright. In fact, let's just actually see if we can make that look a little bit better. Nope. Copyright, you know, whatever it is that you want. So very simple navigation, but pretty effective. You see that around quite a bit, especially around personal blogs and like portfolio sites. And so this alternate, what you can do here is you can left align Basically everything. All of these things. You bring the logo to the left, you have your text to the left, and then you have your icons here as well. So you can have more complex nav items, basically in groups, just like this one right here, just like version 1. Yeah. Now, what other types of footer navigations do we want to entertain? Because again, within these, there's lots of different variability, especially with this one as well too, depending on what you can have. What else could you have? Let's just put let's just talk about components. Within a footer. So we can have subscribe. We can have another call to action. Sometimes, not often, but you can have it. Usually it's in the pre-footer or the section right above the footer. You can have social media. You can have address plus contact. And you can have navigation elements. You can have your creed, also like your company logo. And you can't have like a language switcher. But that's getting much more advanced, much bigger site. Much bigger site might be super 100% custom. You probably won't go with a template for that. Although you might use components, but not specific components for these individual things. You might just use a component template like this one to build out the skeleton. And then you have individual things. And that's another thing too, I think I need to consider and keep in mind, that if you can get the user, see if this makes sense. When you're using this component library, the idea isn't to get you 100% there. I think the idea is to get you 90% there. So if you can carve out 90% of what somebody needs to do whenever they're building a website, I think that's a huge win. Because if they can just copy and paste a footer that gets them almost there, and they know they just need to make a few different tweaks to get it to where they want to be, and then those tweaks are going to be tweaking within a framework or like a development structure that makes sense for them. I mean, that's why they're going to really have to understand Webflow and the style guide and everything. But if it's simple enough that they can work what they want to work into the structure, as long as the foundation is set and is built properly, then I think that's a huge win. I mean, for sure, a lot of people are going to want to just cut and paste things that work for them right out the box, and that's fantastic. But for the more complex layouts that people might want, I don't think it makes sense to try to figure out how we could 100% nail down every single layout that someone's going to want to use. And I think that's probably the avenue that these other companies are taking or have taken, is they're trying to build so many different things to get all the different potential things that they would want outside the box. And I would probably push back a little bit in saying that anybody who's building a site 100% just using components is probably going to have to do some type of reorganization of that components, whether it's even deleting the nav items or sections, or whatever the case may be, because it's never going to be 100%. Hey, this is exactly what I need. No questions asked, no touch-ups or no nothing needed at all whatsoever. It just works out the box. I mean, it's super rare, and if it does, it'll just, maybe just out of pure luck. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and my kind of philosophy behind how I want to put together all these different components. Yeah. So, right, components within a footer. Is there anything else that the footer can contain? The contact details, right? Yeah, links. Social media links. What else could we have? We could have... Yeah, I do have call to actions, right? Yeah. So if there's, a hire me button or book an appointment. I was thinking like there could be like careers or job boards or whatever. So there could be, I'll just throw this in there. Just like notifications. But that's on like nav items. I don't know if you know, in some websites you see in the navigation, they'll have the careers or jobs, and they'll have like a notification that says now hiring or something like that, where it's really kind of in your face. Let me see if I can find something like that. I've seen it before. Maybe nobody's doing this kind of stuff anymore. Who else would potentially have something like that? No, not those guys. I can't think of anybody off the box, but here's one website here. For example, in this jobs thing, they would have like a little icon here that might say now hiring or something like that. It might be highlighted in blue or something like that, in whatever their corporate colors are. So that's what I mean when I'm referring to that. Almost like when you have it right here under the company, you'll have a big, a thing here. Whatever that might say, new or whatever the case may be. That looks totally horrible from here. Actually looks pretty bad from my point of view as well too, from what I'm seeing. Okay. So I think that pretty much covers most of the footers. Again, most people should be keeping their footers very, very simple. Sorry, I'm just trying to check. Oh, here's one. This one works. Right, so here's Zendesk. And if you look here, they're trending. Here's this big new thing, right? So just the ability to have something like this. Whether that's built in or not. Again, to see, this is how you can see the different components. Like in this one here, you have your columns for your navigation, and then, this has the logo and a big contact us. So the question is, would we build out these individual components? Like, are these components within components? Like, does someone take this and be like, yeah, I want to put that in my footer. Yeah, I want to take this and put that in my footer. I mean, this is just the company name or a big logo or something like that. So this is pretty specific. Not very many people are going to want to do something like this. But you know what I mean? So I really need to figure out how exactly, because this is styled. This is pretty unique for them anyways, like this section here. So I don't know if you want to build a component that's just something like this. Again, unless it's components that people can cut and paste into their projects. But again, too, and this is where the style guide itself, let's go back into the style guide, where if we're going to the style guide and we look at the different columns, a grid, right? So if you wanted to replicate that, you'd have a grid 6, and you just put that in your footer section, and then you would just take a navigation item and you would throw it in there, and you just copy and paste all the different nav items from within a footer. So you might, again, custom make your footer to match this, or in this case, to match like this, right? In this case, there's actually a 5. I think there should, I don't have a 5 here. I feel like I should. Let's just make one right now while I'm here. Because the reason I don't have a 5 is I think I was just thinking of just like multiples of even numbers of columns. But just seeing that, it's like, yeah, of course people are going to want to have things that are not always even numbered of grids or columns. So we want to edit this grid for 5. And then we're just going to copy that. Now we have 5. Okay. Good. Grid 5 columns. Okay, good. Okay. Is there anything else? Oop. I think that's good for our footer, for what we might want to put in there. And anything complex, like even just looking at that Zendesk footer, I mean, it's not complex at all. It's super simple, but it's just like a super specific design that's meant for them. And that if they took this footer, they can easily work it around where they can take this column section, move it up. They can take that logo, stretch it out, and then they could take this social thing and put it wherever, and they just create their own little link text block as well too. So it wouldn't be much of a stretch to take this footer component and build it into their specific design that they have. At least that's my impression from what I have in my head and what I saw over there on the Zendesk site, and of course, assuming that they would even want to use this. Okay. So that gives us, so we did the navigation, we did the footer. So let's just say navigation is done, footer is done, and we have to do the hero section, the collection lists, the common website sections, testimonials, and image gallery. Well, these are a lot more complex now. Contact form, a team section. Oh my goodness, this is a lot. Social media bars, and our product and service sections. Which again, for those, I'm basically thinking what you have on, again, I'll probably even look at Zendesk. I'm sure we can see it here as we scroll up. Just kind of like these 2 column things. Yeah, exactly. Like it has this thing. This is it could be an image. This happens to be video. It just has this and explore features. Super, super common. And even this one is very common as well too. It's like basically just a slider with 4 different things. Super simple, super straightforward. But just lots of different types of sections. Right. So with that being said, I think this is going to be a good place for us to call it a day here on the stream. It's almost 4 o'clock p.m. here over in Nova Scotia, which means I do need to get going. That doesn't mean anything because you guys don't know. But anyways, usually around the evenings, I like to go for a walk before I get to supper time here and spend a little bit of time with the kids. So we're going to end it here today, and we're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to do more sketching. And if I've happened to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to some sketching tonight because I have some client work I need to get done before the morning. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to it, but hopefully, anyways, if for tomorrow, if I did get around to doing some more sketching and all that sketching is done, then we're going to hop into Webflow to start designing these components. If not, we're going to keep on doing some more sketching to really get, again, the full breadth and depth of all the different components, so we make sure we have it really, really solid in our mind what we're building here, so we make sure we build the right thing. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you again so much for your support. Really appreciate it. And we're going to keep plugging away. Hopefully you're working really hard on your business and growing your business. And we'll do the same right here on the stream. And together, let's build ourselves our $1 million companies. All right, guys, take it easy. And we'll see you tomorrow.